Is society on the decline? Man, I really don't know. I do want to make a video on this really bad, though, just to give my opinion on the subject, because a lot of people right now are Googling and searching, like, how societies collapse, because I'm pretty sure no matter where you align politically right now, it's hard to see an optimistic view of the world, and it's very easy to get super nihilistic. In fact, I get a lot of urges to look at that way now, too. And it's something I usually fight day in, day out, trying to be better at, trying to make things go good, you know. But for the most part, a lot of people are very demoralized, so to say. But having said that, I don't think collapse would be a good way to describe what's going on. If anything, I would have to say we are going through kind of like a decay and just a decline, because things economically are really bad, and I want to talk about politics from like a really nonpartisan perspective. I know everyone's subscribed to a group or a political party, and they go with that group, but I'm just trying to look at this from a total outsider's perspective. And honestly, I'm not a big fan of political parties right now, because from all political parties, I think I've seen a lot of tribalization, and you say what we want you to say or else you are our enemy. Honestly, from both, because I've had disagreements with both sides, and I've both been given the same extreme get him out of here style treatment that I have gotten. So in other words, it's been a very isolating experience. And honestly, I'm kind of over the whole partisanship thing. I don't even want to be part of these political parties anymore, because it's just become absolute insanity from my perspective. But a lot of people are like bringing up things like the collapse of Rome and how Rome fell and everything. And there's a lot of paintings out there who are depicting Rome falling. And those paintings are very well painted, but I'm not a big fan of the image it captures, because it makes you think that there's just this one catalyst moment where everyone lost their mind and then all of a sudden started burning down buildings and absolutely destroying everything. But typically these things come in phases, and a lot of people like to say that there's one typical reason that Rome and all these other great civilizations eventually fell under. But I think there's a lot more than that, but I can just attribute it to one thing, and that's human nature. And human nature is the thing that I always point out on the civilization collapse scale, or the civilization decline scale, or just like an apocalyptic scale, because human beings have a specific nature to them that I do not want to deny or pretend doesn't exist. I mean, for the longest time growing up, I had a very rose-colored glasses view of the world, and I dropped it after a while, because that put me through a lot more trouble than meets the eye, to the point where it's like I have to stop lying to myself so I could keep myself safe. I got to be honest about who people are. And a lot of people don't like it when I bring up human nature, because then it falls on them and not the opposing political party or anybody who doesn't align with their political beliefs. And that's another reason I don't like political parties, because it's a giant excuse so no one has to look at their own style of fault, when we all have faults in us. But saying that, oh, I belong to this group or this party or anything like that, so therefore I am flawless, I see a lot of that. And I'm not going to speak for everybody, because if you're not part of that problem, you're not part of that problem. But I see this with a lot of people who kind of have their heads up their rears, and that's the part of human nature that I think gets us to get to a societal decay. Because it's easy to want to look at politicians or some other figurehead as the ultimate savior for all of our problems. But no matter what you are looking towards, whether it's a political figure, or a religious figure, you can't put the weight of the world on one person. I think it takes a collective effort to unite and love one another and hug one another, as Hallmark as that sounds, because sometimes a little bit of love can go a long way. And this video is probably going to go everywhere on my Facebook, my YouTube, my BitChute, my Instagram. But overall, no matter when you subscribe to anything, it's just this human nature of narcissism that we've kind of embodied in ourselves especially via social media. Everyone has said this before. Social media is the reason, but I think social media has just amplified our nature to the point where it's thrown everything off balance. And I'm not saying to just sit around, hug each other, and do nothing in times like these where the economies of the world are not looking too good, foreign relations are not looking too good. In fact, you should always be working to try and do better, like whether it's creating YouTube content or anything, or trying to learn a new skill. Making yourself more valuable to a society so you guys can get jobs done and make money and go home and be with your family is always a plus. I'm actually very pro self-improvement. I have been, because in my earlier years I really wasn't. And I had a few rude awakenings where I had missed out on some opportunities with relationships and jobs and just overall things where I had to take a step back, look at myself analyze myself with a very big magnifying glass. And I've spent years upon years ironing out my flaws. Are all of them ironed out? No. Is it always going to be a perfect world to where I can't always work on ironing them out? Maybe not. But I can do my best as a human being to try and be better the next day. And I feel like if everybody kind of took this philosophy with a grain of salt, we're like, hey, I might fail along the way, but I got to keep trying again and again until I get it right. It would be a much healthier mindset to inject into the public. And we'd have less demoralized people, because the people I hang around with are typically around my same mindset, right? But if the people with this mindset are outnumbered by the people who are demoralized, I don't know if we have enough people to hold up that weight of society. But the thing is I'm seeing a lot of hate, like a lot of destruction go on now, where people are so at each other's throats and everyone is very different per se, and kind of dug into their ways where they don't really want to give in to any ground. And I could see why. When no one else wants to do the same thing, it's really hard to want to be the guy to throw up your weapon first and say, okay, wait, hold up, what are we doing here? Because it could either have a really good way of turning out, or you could be that one guy that everyone points the guns to and hexes off. But when it comes to society, I do think that there's a lot of personal responsibility that we collectively need to take up. We need to stop with this "it's all about me" attitude and, come to a conclusion. Stand up and say, hey man, I was wrong in this situation, or hey, I don't think I was wrong in this situation, and really try and understand your fellow neighbor, because that's kind of gone away in society, where people want to give themselves the benefit of the doubt and say, oh, that's just the way I am, or I have trauma, or some other excuse. But when it comes to excusing other people's crappy behavior, they're not able to forgive them or pardon them, or say, okay, you know what, I forgive you. Because then you got to condemn that person. Oh, excuse me again. But I think, no matter what, until we look at ourselves, we're not really going to go anywhere upwards in society, and things are just going to progressively kind of get worse, because that is hard to do. It is hard to look at yourself and change your ways and break down your ego and have an ego death and say, wait, hold up, I need to take a step back for X amount of reasons. Do I think that people are going to do that? Probably not, because I'm a realist, and I believe in human nature, and I believe people are very narcissistic by nature. I think a few people are going to rise above, but I don't think it's going to be the whole collective. But the main reason I take this video and post it out on the internet is that maybe the message will resonate with somebody, or they will understand what I'm saying. I'm just doing my part. I'm not thinking this video is going to change the world's mind or change the world in any way, shape, or form, because I don't think one video can. There's a lot more to changing the world than just making videos or making art. There's a lot of hands-on hard work that needs to be done. Have I woken up to this? Yes. I'm kind of waiting for a lot of other people to join my cause and help take a collective responsibility for the world and put aside our differences, because I used to be a huge proponent of equality. I remember when I was in college, I used to be all about coming together, singing songs and kumbayaing and all that stuff. And over time, you realize your friends on Facebook who are posting about all that stuff don't really mean what they say. And they were more just doing it for brownie points and looking good in front of their friends, and not because they actually wanted a better tomorrow. Me, I actually wanted a better tomorrow, and I hit this moment in my life where I said, it's not my problem anymore. Now, am I going to go back to square one and be this rose-colored glasses kumbaya singing person? No, because I think that's dangerous at this side. But what I can do is maybe just try and give some different nonpartisan advice out there. Maybe someone listens to it, maybe it resonates with someone, and maybe it gets a little bit of traction, and maybe there's more videos out there like this. I hope so. But at the end of the day, if we cannot do that, and I don't think we will, we never look at ourselves and we keep waiting for the president or the emperor or the queen or the king to solve our problems for that. And if you look at history, it never goes that way. Now, I know that my voice alone cannot change the world, but start building your communities, start forming your families, and I feel like the rest will come. And that is up to you. Thank you guys very much, and goodbye.